Well, everything I say feels like a lie. Like a performance. All I'm trying to do is be real, but if I try and be real, I'm going to say some things that later on I say, actually, that was unreal. Actually, what you thought was real was you being in a state of post-traumatic stress, some kind of manic episode, some kind of episodic mental illness that you can't define, and what you thought was the truth at that moment was actually a lie. And so whatever you say, you're fucked, because you just can't say it right. And you can't even message the girl you like because you're afraid of being a fraud and fucking up the relationship. But then if you don't message, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And yesterday I didn't message her. And I'm feeling like confused as to whether or not I think I'm a bad person, that I've done bad things, and therefore I'm a bad person, and therefore I am not worthy of being in a relationship, and that anyone who would be in a relationship with me isn't worth being in a relationship with because I'm such a shitty person. And then I'm also thinking, no, that's not true. I've always been a good person. I may have appeared as a bad person, but I've actually not done anything bad. And I've only appeared as a bad person as a method of self-defense, which ultimately, arguably, has worked. I've definitely gained evidence against people who are bad to me or who have been bad to me by pretending to be a bad person. But to explain that, that's a little far out. Because that's kind of hard to prove. That's kind of like saying, when you're a mother and you raise your son, you raise him to be a very good person, and you spend your entire life doing that, and you look at him as if he should thank you. You say being a mother is the most thankless job in the world, and you have no idea the sacrifice that I've made for you. And then your son marries a woman, and he acts like a total idiot because he's so drooling and slobbering with delight to be in her presence, and she treats him like shit. And she treats him well as well. Either one, it doesn't matter. And as the mother, you hate your daughter-in-law because she treats him well, and he slobbers like an idiot for her when you did all that hard work to raise your son as an upstanding, level-headed, reasonable person. Or she treats him like shit, and he doesn't have the insight and the wisdom to leave her, and you hate her instead of putting the responsibility on your son. You hate her because you think that she's manipulating him into a relationship, and you did all that hard work of raising him as a upstanding, reasonable, level-headed, self-respecting person. And so if you were to say that you actually, as the mother, hate your daughter-in-law because you're jealous that you would like to be needed, you would like to be important, and the person who still is in control of him because you don't really have another purpose besides that, that's like your main purpose in life, and she's taken that away from you. And it's not really that she's a bitch that you hate her, and it's not really that she's a really nice person that you hate her. It's that she's replaced your role in a sense, because partners do parent each other. They baby talk to each other. And now that your role has been replaced, you actually feel jealous and you hate your daughter-in-law for that reason. And it's a very subtle reason. And if you said it directly that you're just plainly jealous, no one would really understand. Now, in the same sense that you can't tell people deep truths like that because it's too subtle and there's no overt proof for it, so they're just going to say, oh, fuck that, that's not true, fuck you, you're just a bitch, or you're just a people pleaser, and you're just trying to be too nice to my son, and that's how you bamboozled him into a relationship. In the same way that you can't just outright say it, that's how I feel about when I've acted like a fucked up person. That in order to gain evidence against people, and again, I'm not saying this is just one thought, okay? On the other side, I have, no, I am a bad person, and I deserve to be brutalized and fucking murdered. And even that's a little bit hard to say, though, because there are some other things attached to that. Like, when they tried to murder me, they also tried to murder my mom and my grandma. And when they did that, they did it with a cover on their license plate. And you could pretty much imagine that someone like me who has went to the bank and they said, sorry, we can't give you an account because someone else is using your social insurance number. That there are insurance policies on our lives. And they tried to kill all three of us at once when we were all in the car in a car accident because that would be a huge payout. So it's kind of hard to say, well, maybe I'm a bad person, but why would they try and kill my mom and my grandma? And why would they do it with a tarp over their license plate? And why would they do it when we're all in the car together? And why would they do it when me and my grandma are in the car together and it makes the dog fly into the dashboard when I have to slam on the brakes? And why would they break in and gas us when my mom is home if it's really just about me being punished? There are lots of things that make me say, don't think you're a bad person, Z-Bubs. You're actually being traumatized, and this is part of the trauma. But basically, here's the gist of it. And I don't even really want to talk about specifics because I'm on... Are you... Hello?
Oh, hi. I'm going over to Tim's in a few minutes.
Okay.
And I'm taking the puck with me just so you know what's gone.
The puck?
It's the Bose.
Oh. Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, why are you taking that?
Because it doesn't work properly and he's going to fix it.
Oh, wow. He's handy. I didn't know it was broken.
Just a sec. I have to shut. What did you say?
I didn't know it was even broken.
Well, it works, but it crackles when you turn it up and down.
Oh, well, that's no problem.
Oh, anyway, he's going to fix it.
Well, that's good, I guess.
And, but the regular TV volume works if you want it.
Yeah, I never even use the TV volume. I just watch videos.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But I just wanted to let you know that that's what's going on with the TV. And I will be back here around 10:30 tomorrow.
Okay. Well, have fun.
Okay, thanks.
Toodaloo. Okay, so the argument for me being a bad person is I basically said that I was in love with Doras. Now, Dora is a code word for something that I don't want to get censored on YouTube. I'll just say underage people. Now, did I need to say that in order to gain evidence of the adults who are using those underage people to traumatize me and traffic me and terrorize me? To gain evidence against them? Did I need to say that? Well, as it turned out, I got a lot of evidence against them by saying things like that. By saying, not things like that, by saying that. It made them act out in ways that were extreme. In ways that they wouldn't have done with, if I had a camera, they wouldn't have done that. And I am someone who has realized through my experience dealing with people that when I'm in a group setting for a long enough time, people trust me. I have an authenticity to me that people literally trust me. I am an authority. I'm not like a regular authority, like a cop or like a president or something, but I'm an authority in that when I say something, people trust me. And is it reasonable that I was just pretending in order to get evidence against them? because I knew that by my saying that, it would make them act out in heinous ways that would gain me evidence against them, that I could just talk about it. And they didn't know that I'm an authority and that I don't need a camera. So they went ahead, just as I planned, and acted extremely predatorial to their own children, using me as the scapegoat. And all I had to do then was talk about it to expose them. And this is before I knew the fullness of what gang stalking is. So I didn't know that the police and the government and the neighborhood watch are all human traffickers. I thought that all I had to do was expose them, and then that would put an end to this. Now, is that reasonable? Or, here's the other thing. Did I actually love them? Did I actually love underage people, fall in love with them? And it was a matter of Stockholm Syndrome. Now, as I'm water fasting, I'm getting more clarity. I'm getting more insight. And I'm frankly getting more repressed emotions that are surfacing. And part of me would say, it's actually a lie to say that you weren't actually in love with them and that you really didn't have Stockholm Syndrome. And this was just your mastermind, Chris Hansen plan the entire time. But on the other hand, I say, well, my dad has 184 IQ. That's like 1 out of 20 million. My ex-best friend who I lived with was a genius. I don't know his IQ, but he was a genius. One of my girlfriends is a psychiatrist. She was, I'm pretty sure, really smart. My last girlfriend had 140 something IQ, so she said. I don't know if that counts as genius. The other guy I lived with almost got into MIT. He was one step away from it. My dad's girlfriend is a Mensa member. Is it reasonable to say that I'm really intelligent? The people I talk to on YouTube, like Lauren, he has a very high IQ. I think he's a genius. He's had his IQ measured. The people I resonate with, Zeph is a genius. I have a vicarious relationship with Zeph. I don't know if he reads my comments, but sometimes it seems like he does. I never knew he was a genius until his girlfriend talked about it. But is it possible that I'm intelligent enough to understand human psychology, that I'm like an avatar and these people trafficking me are like birds in Avatar? And when I act a certain way, it makes them act a certain way. And that I knew by saying that I'm in love with their children who they were stalking me with, and using me as the scapegoat, saying we're only stalking you on behalf of our children because we think that you're out to get our children. That's basically what they were implying to me. And so I said, because I'm not doing that and you're saying I'm doing that, it means that you're doing that. So I'm going to say I'm doing that, and you're going to react in an extreme way that if I had a camera, you would never act like that. But I'm going to get your extreme reaction in my mind, in my fucking sight, in my experience. I'm going to see your reaction, and I'm going to tell people about it. And that is going to give the evidence to the public against you that's going to put a stop to you. And I was never in love with your children. I was just saying that because that's what I had to say to get you to incriminate yourself, which is not the same as entrapment. Now, that's the good version of this. That's the version of myself that I'm saying, okay, you're the angel, Z-Bubs. You've never sinned and you're just perfect. Now, that's not so easy to just stick with that version of yourself. And, I had said all this on Facebook too, where I have 0 friends, and I posted pictures of my face every day like a retard. The same angle, the same picture, just a picture of my face every day. I don't know why I did that. I don't know if I was trying to say, take pity on me. Like, will someone please help me? Look, I'm a real person. See, every day, look, I'm a real person. And then I basically said, I was saying I was a predator on on Facebook, I was saying I was a predator, but I'm really not. It's just these people, and here are their addresses, and please help me. And then the last time I talked to Marina, she said, I found your Facebook. I had been dreading that moment. But by the time she found it, I had already told her about this. So it wasn't that bad. And really what the worst part about that was when I posted all those pictures of my face, I didn't even have my eyelid tape in. So my eyelids look fucked up. And she said, I want to see her smile. I thought maybe she thinks I'm not hot enough now. So I smiled, because in those pictures, I never smiled. Now, the other option, so that's like the far side. You're a really good person. You've never sinned. You're just the true cop. You're the true hero in this case. And you've never sinned. Okay, and then in the middle, we have a mix. Okay, so yes, that first version is true. But then somewhere in the middle of it, you got... you got Stockholm Syndrome for real. You really did start loving them. And when you jacked off to that sweater that was left in your yard, you really didn't think it was Louise's sweater. You thought it was one of their children's. And you really enjoyed that. And that's unforgivably fucked up. And no, why would it be Louise's sweater? I think I saw her wearing it right after I gave them a note with my YouTube on it. After they had been stalking me, threatening me, I left a note saying, I'm sorry for going near your house. Basically, I'm sorry for... That's not what the note said, okay? I said, I'm sorry for not returning a dance move to Dance Girl. Because I had just realized Dance Girl was stalking me with TSD. And then I think the next day I saw Louise wearing the sweater that was left in my yard. And I'm pretty sure the first time Louise talked to me outside of just threatening me, like before then she had told me ambiguously to be careful with no context, just be careful. And I turned and looked at her like, what? And she said, sorry. And she didn't say it sarcastically. She said sorry, like sheepishly. And then she talked to me on a bench to basically stalk me and threaten me. And I think the context for that was she asked if she could have a smoke with me. But I can't remember. I really can't remember. I'm not trying to gaslight here if that's not the case. But I was smoking on a bench. And she asked to sit beside me. And I think I was smoking with her. And she was smoking a cigarette. And I offered her some weed. And then the sweater that came, it smelled like smoke. And so I think I knew it was Louise's sweater, and I was jacking off to that and then saying it belonged to Dance Girl as a way of, I don't want to say the word entrapment, but as a way of getting them to incriminate themselves. Like this is like not what I've believed, but this is, as I'm water fasting, I'm starting to think this might be the real story. And then when I would jack off to the sweater, I would actually fantasize it was Dance Girl's. But that was in a state of trauma, but I knew it wasn't. I think that actually confused me. I think I fantasized it was hers, which I wouldn't have done had she not been stalking me and threatening me, which stalking is threatening someone. And so I think I confused the fantasy of it being Dance Girls with it actually being Dance Girls. And that made me feel like I actually was predatorial and I actually was in love with them. But as I'm gaining more clarity and feeling really guilty and sad and fucked up, I'm thinking, what if the reason you feel guilty and sad and fucked up is because you're wrong? That you actually knew the entire time. And look at all the evidence you've gotten against them now. Do you want me to just tell you what all the evidence is? There's a lot of it. I mean, I already have. I don't need to go into it, and I frankly don't want to be gassed. But, and maybe I will, but just, it's not the main point. But anyways, it really did work though. It exactly worked as if I'm actually this version of myself, who's the good, non-sinner, pure-hearted person, who's the real cop in town, the real authority in town, who actually is fucking martyred. I don't want to be a martyr, okay? I don't give a fuck about human trafficking until it involves me. I don't cry when there's starving orphans. I don't care. I'm like, I don't care. But if it involves me, then you're interfering with my life. And on some level, I think I have cared about people now. Like, the other thing I thought was, what if I'm pretending I was in love and am in love or had Stockholm syndrome? I don't say I am in love, okay? I don't say I'm pretending to be in love with anyone right now. If I'm in love with anyone, it's Marina. And I don't even know if that's an if. I think I might be in love. Maybe it's an if, but I'm pretty sure I'm in love with Marina, but it's difficult because she told me to use a sensitive Gillette razor, and that's a pretty specific thing in my targeting. I get Gillette commercials all the time. And she also had a glass that she was drinking out of that looks just like a glass that we have. These things can be a coincidence. I don't know. Zeph has also mentioned something in his most recent podcast. I said, it's not my fault what happened to me, but it's my responsibility to fix it. In his most recent podcast, he said the exact same thing. Now, do I think Zeph is a gangstalker? No. Does that mean that he watches my videos? Maybe. I don't know. There's this other girl, Ava, who I said, I feel comfortably numb, like the Pink Floyd song. And then afterwards, she did a cover of the Pink Floyd song, Comfortably Numb. Now, is that gang stalking? I don't think so. I think but does that mean that she saw my video? Maybe. Would that make me feel like she's gang stalking me? Not really. Have I ever talked about, no, it wouldn't make me, I don't believe I was a gang stalker at all. Now, what about Marina saying the sensitive Gillette razor comment? Have I ever talked about Gillette commercials on my videos? I might have. I don't know if I have, but I might have. Could Marina have said that just because I said that? Maybe. And if Marina is a gang stalker, is that even a deal breaker? Not really, but I've believed that she's not a gang stalker, and it would be something to process. It would be emotionally it would be taxing on me to process that. I've already been processing that. What if she is? And I can't just ask her, of course. I mean, I did tell her about the Gillette razor comment, and she didn't say anything about it. But that kind of goes to the heart of the issue here, which is, supposing I'm not this innocent, perfect person, and I really did have Stockholm syndrome. I really did fall in love with people. That was illegal, and so I'm so traumatized that I got Stockholm syndrome. Then I would have to extend that same courtesy of saying, well, it was just Stockholm syndrome for me, and in a court of law, I'm not guilty because ChatGPT says, I'm being human trafficked, COINTELPRO'd, that puts me under duress. That means I'm not guilty for what I do. I would then have to extend it to them and say, well, you're not guilty either, including if Marina's a gangstalker, which I don't really think she is, and even if she is, like, I think certain gangstalkers are a different quality of people. Like, I think John Wayne Gacy was a gangstalker. That's not the same as our family doctor, who I think was a gangstalker, who we all loved and who we all love. I think my mom, I'm pretty sure, is a gangstalker. I don't know, because she coughs a lot and she touches her face a lot when she's talking to me. But then again, she has chronic congestion in her throat, so I don't really know. But if some gangstalkers are nice and they're just doing the bare minimum of gang stalking and they're otherwise very loving to me and they also have a camera on them, then I sort of don't really feel that I have to worry about them, that they're going to try to hurt me, because I think they actually do love me. Like if my mom's a gangstalker, she bought me a bicycle. She bought me presents. Like she clearly loves me. And she tells me, go out for a walk. Now, if I go out for a walk, the neighbors are going to honk their horn when I get home, especially if it's out in the daytime, especially if it's near a school. If I go near a school now, I'm pretty sure, I can't be sure about this, but I'm pretty sure that the last time I went near a school in the daytime during school hours, like especially around when they're getting out, like when they're like around 3 p.m., that was when I was going to the doctor to get my electrolyte test. And I'm pretty sure that there was a break-in after that, which means I get gassed. And when I got home, the neighbors behind me honked their horns. And, you know, right when I get up to my room, the neighbors to the left of me, where Jim used to live, they honked their horns right when I got home, like a really loud beep. And then I come up to my room and they beep it in the driveway behind me. And we get a spoofed threatening phone call. And then I found an onion wrapper on our floor in our bathroom, which I thought, I don't think an onion wrapper could have got there in any happenstantial way. Someone broke in and did this. And I got gassed again because I went near a school, because I said I was in love with these people who it was illegal to be in love with them, or to like, you know, not to be in love with them, but to actually have relationships with them would have been illegal. And because I said that, now when I go to the doctors to get a fucking electrolyte test, which is not predatory at all, the doctor's closes at 5 p.m. and I wake up at 2:30 p.m. And so as soon as I wake up, I go to the doctor's office and I have to go by a school to get there. And now they're breaking in my house because of all these things that I said, just to fucking get evidence against the people who are actually abusing their children. And I'll tell you, like, the neighbor, when I was walking by her, she said to her 5-year-old, look at the little man about me. And that's sexual. That's fucking perverted. And, you know, the ones who I was saying I was in love with, their dad followed me in a car with them sleeping, like with the girl and her brothers sleeping in their car, in their back seat around 10 p.m., following me around a parking lot, motioning like he's going to hit me. Like, how would you get your sleeping kids in a car who are like 13 to get in the car, and like either they were pretending to be asleep or they were actually drugged, or he just put them in the car when they were already sleeping. It was like 10:30 or 11 p.m. almost. Like Theyre's was already closed. And it was in the Theyre's parking lot in Stanley Park. And he's following me in his car around the parking lot with his sleeping kids in the car. And he drives up close so I can see his kids. I mean, isn't that perverted? And then he has his kids stalk me as well. And then they have this girl who's like 5 years old talk to me, like unattended. And she says, excuse me? Like she's saying it like a question. And I'm pretty sure that she said it like a question so that I would say yes. And then she was driving behind me on her bike with training wheels so that it would look like she was saying, excuse me, I need to pass. But because she made the inflection like a question, I would say, yes, do you need something? What would you like? And then it would look like I'm talking to her for no reason as a predator. But really it was just, they could say that, no, she was just saying, excuse me, but they had her say it with the inflection of like a question. And I was scared when that happened. I fucking put my headphones on, like there's something fucked up about this. And then those same parents with their kids are babysitters of that girl in that training wheels bike who talked to me. And then they stalk me with that girl. Now that's incriminating. That's fucked up. And then meanwhile, they're threatening me for going near a school. And they have this girl who they come and talk to me unattended. And how do they know how to leave that sweater in my yard? How do they know where I lived? Isn't that predatory? Anyways, so I'm feeling like I can't even go outside now without someone fucking gassing us. Gassing me, because my mom leaves for work early, I sleep in, then I get gassed after my mom leaves for work. And if I set up the security camera, which who knows if that works, but it's not Bluetooth, it's not Wi-Fi, apparently it's not something they can hack, and I lock the doors and I barricade the doors and I get tamper-proof seal tape and I put it on the hinges of the crack of the door, and I do everything I possibly can to make sure they can't break in, their next step is going to be to sabotage our car and kill us because our transmission fluid has drained, or I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Our transmission blew while we were driving, which is extremely rare. If your brakes give out while you're driving, that's rare, but it's not rare enough that people won't say, yeah, that happened to me. I also know that, now, did our brakes actually give out like someone cut our brake lines? No, not really. I think that was just the brake pads that were completely worn out. But what happened is suddenly we pushed the brakes and they went all the way in and they didn't really work properly. They barely worked at all. You know how like you push the brake just a little bit and you get some traction with it? It just went all the way in and it barely worked. And it was really scary. Now that could have just been a worn out brake pad that suddenly failed. But the transmission blowing while driving is extremely rare. And that's like super fucked up. And they've sabotaged our car. They have taken, they fucked our car up in multiple times. And they've tried to fucking kill us with vehicular assaults, so it wouldn't be unprecedented for them to sabotage a car. I mean, I shouldn't be laughing about this. This isn't funny. This is actually pretty scary. So on one hand, I'm thinking, I'm a bad person. I was jacking off to this sweater, to the BO on this smoky sweater. And that makes me guilty. And I deserve to die. And anyone who loves me deserves to die too. That's kind of how it feels. That's like the guilty version of myself. Like, yeah, I totally fucked up. And now I was rightly brutalized, and I'm rightly being brutalized still. And it's totally my own fault that I'm not allowed to go to the doctors to check my electrolytes if it's near a school. And there's no way I can even get to the doctors without going near a school because there's schools everywhere. Like, like literally, like I could actually try to map it out. And if I try to go the route with where I don't go by a school, then I have to go down a street where the last time I went down that street, they shot a fireworks as if it was a gun, because it's where one of the gangstalkers who's associated to these families who I'm talking about, who I've gained evidence against. And if I ever go on their street too, there is someone associated to them who is like, oh, I'll show you, I'll shoot a firework and threaten to shoot you, basically. So that's like the guilty bad version of myself, that I feel like, yeah, I'm a total fucking rapist and I'm just a piece of shit and I should die. And actually, if I go to Switzerland to get euthanized, it's actually for the better, because there's no life I can ever have and it's my own fault. And therefore, I really should commit suicide. Now, if anyone's watching this who says, oh, you need help, okay, you can't talk about committing suicide. No, I'm not talking about doing it like in Canada. I'm talking about going to Switzerland where it's legal and saying, I'd like to pay $8,000 and I'd like to please get euthanized. And I could totally do that legally, and there's nothing anyone could do to stop me for that. Because in Canada here, you could legally intervene on someone. And this is just ideation too, okay? I don't have the intent on doing this. This is just needed to talk about. If you actually want to help people not be self-harming, you have to allow them the space to talk about when they feel the ideation, when they feel like self-harming. You have to allow them to talk about it without assuming that they're talking about it means they have intent to actually do it. Because if you stop them from talking about it, you're actually forcing them even more to do it. You're actually like making them into a pressure cooker where there's more pressure on them, and that pressure in the first place is probably a lot what has to do with them having a desire to end their pain. You know, it's not really that you want to die, it's that you just want to stop, you know, being in pain. And then another part of me is saying these underage people actually do love me, and I need to carry on this charade that I love them, to help ground it for them, to say I really did love you, and it was Stockholm, and this wasn't just an elaborate setup. Because I feel responsible for them. Because I feel bad for them, because I've gotten to know them over the years, and I feel like they're raised by fucked up psychopaths, and they have a pilot light of goodness in them, and I want to nurture that, and I love that part of them. Not like in a predatory way, but in a platonic way, that I fucking see them as people, and I'm not so sociopathic once I get to know someone. I don't care about the nameless, faceless, starving people in some other country, but now that I've gotten to know them, I feel responsible for them. And I feel like saying, no, I really am in love with you, but it was just Stockholm syndrome, and, you know, it was just that your family did this, and it wasn't me who actually set these traps at your expense. It wasn't me who incriminated your family to save myself at your expense of your actually falling in love with me. It was that your family did it, and I'm not guilty, and you're not guilty, and hey, we're in the same boat. We're all victims here. Now, would they have the intelligence to understand that I just lured their family into incriminating themselves to save myself? Is that any worse or better than saying it was just Stockholm syndrome? And was I only not able to admit that because I was too fucked up, because I hadn't water fasted? I was essentially just too much junk fooded up. I had just been eating myself into a food coma where I didn't have the mental clarity. I mean, can you understand that on a water fast, you'd have more mental clarity if you're drinking enough water? I mean, I understand this. My experience is showing me this. A lot of fucking repressed emotions are coming up. No, this is scary. Even if I don't post this video, just the fact that I'm saying these things could make a break-in happen. This fucking scares me. But I'm drinking 1 sip of water per minute. I'm having my needs met physiologically, very precisely, very scientifically. I've gotten enough sleep. I've gotten like 11 hours sleep last night. And I feel so fucking sad. I woke up just feeling horrified with my life. And for a moment, just like yesterday, I woke up dreaming of Todd, dreaming of Marina, feeling so happy and just indulging in it and saying, oh, just more, just give me more. And then within a few moments, it all went to shit. And there was no obvious gang stalking this morning because I haven't left the house. If I leave the house, regardless, even if I leave the house during school hours or go near a school, even if I go to Home Depot at 8 p.m. at night, once I get into the parking lot, they're going to go beep, 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 beep. A car will just be sitting there just with someone in it, just beeping their horn over and over. When I get home, they'll have someone beep. When I had FaceTime with Marina and we had, like I showed her my dick, the neighbors behind us beeped. Anything I do, they get there's some kind of punishment. But some punishments are worse for depending on when I go outside. Now, I haven't went outside the house since I started my water fast, so the beeping has went away. And even that was traumatizing me that you'd think, no, it's actually a good day because you're not getting harassed, you're not getting a threatening phone call, it doesn't seem like anyone broke in. Well, yeah, at the expense of staying in the house all the time. And then when I turn on the commercial, they're going to have like a bear commercial on, and it's going to be a bear chasing someone. And then they'll have Uber Eats. Get your groceries delivered with Uber to stay away from the bear. Then you don't have to deal with the bear. And the bear is symbolic of getting raped by like a bear who they've had stalkers with me who are like obviously gay bear types. And so it's traumatizing just in itself when you're stuck in your house like a prison and they're saying, okay, good. That's right. Good. You want to have no one fuck with you while you're sleeping? You don't want to get gassed and you don't want to get touched while you're sleeping and have your asshole broken for 2 weeks? Now, I don't know if I was raped. It could have been a projection that I was feeling like a rapist myself, and then all of a sudden I projected it onto them and said, you guys raped me. I know my asshole was broken for like 2 weeks. And there was weird smells on my mattress and chemicals on my mattress. Could I have had an anal abscess or something? Some kind of like, I don't know if it's called a fissure or some kind of medical problem that just went wrong in my butt. And that's why I thought I was raped. I don't know. But do I put it beyond them to rape someone? No. They're fucking murderers and rapists. Them being the institution of gangstalking. I don't put it beyond them at all. I think it's totally possible, totally plausible. Or did I drink poison that atrophied my bowels? And so I have, on one hand, look how it all connects. That Marina sent me the comment about shave with a sensitive Gillette razor. I had cut myself with a knife just on my leg. You know, it was not painful at all. It stung a little bit, and then I got commercials for Gillette razors all the time. And then I think I talked about it. Marina said something about you should shave with a sensitive Gillette razor. Such an odd comment. I wanted to tell her, let me see that you actually have a sensitive Gillette razor. Go in your bathroom and show me right now that you have a sensitive Gillette razor so I could see you're not stalking me. She also said she likes the salted caramel ice cream by So Delicious, which is the kind that I get. As a vegan, it's a pretty rare thing. Like there's only 2 kinds of vegan ice cream that I even would ever get, Ben & Jerry's, which is not that good, or So Delicious. So I thought, is she gangstalking me? And then if she is, then I have to forgive her, which also makes me have to forgive the neighbors behind us who have tortured us for years with their motion detector light on the truck that would shine in our kitchen window at any time we'd go in our kitchen, and spraying mud all over our window and honking over repetitively. And the people who entrapped me, forced me to say I was in love with their kids, I have to forgive them. If Marina's not guilty, and if I'm not guilty, if I've done something wrong, if I've actually had Stockholm Syndrome and actually fallen in love with them, then I have to say, well, if I'm not guilty because it's just Stockholm Syndrome, Marina's not guilty. The people who seemingly broke in my house, raped me, or poisoned me, did something really fucked up that broke my asshole for 2 weeks, that I had to basically drink juice for 2 weeks. The torture that I've endured for years from the neighbors, and from being terrorized and traumatized by these families with their kids, I have to say that they're all not guilty too. And no one's guilty because we're all just entrapped and everyone's innocent. Because they have cameras in their house too, and they're under duress too. And the cameras in their house, they're not there by choice. They're there because some higher up is doing it. And so it's a lot easier for me to say, no, I'm not guilty. I'm the good cop over here. And Marina, she's a true TI. And therefore, we're in the good club and everyone else is in the bad club. And that's kind of easier on my emotional digestive system. I can kind of process that. It feels better to say, well, actually, I'm a good person and everyone else is fucked. It feels a lot easier to say that. But to say that I'm a bad person, but it's not my fault, then I have to say to everyone else, but it's not your fault too. So really, none of us are bad people. And therefore, I can trust Marina, and therefore I can trust family who I think are gangstalkers, who, if I go to the family Christmas this Christmas, they're maybe going to say some gangstalkery things to me. They might be saying some innuendos to me. They might be, like last time they gave me a Rubik's Cube, which I interpreted as a children's toy. And I called them brown coats indirectly. I mean, I shouldn't even say that in case my mama's watching and she's gonna like make me delete my YouTube channel or something, or make me delete this video for saying that. Maybe I should edit that part out. But I said I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't have to censor these things. But I felt really bad about that. I felt bad about calling them brown coats. Someone said, okay, your gifts are in the brown paper bag. And I said, oh, well, it's a shame that we don't have brown coats. Or something like that. And it was basically implying that they're all gangstalkers and all basically Nazis. And I haven't went to the family Christmas party since then. So that might be pretty traumatizing for me to go back now. Especially to consider that I think you actually might be gangstalkers. You probably are, but maybe not. Because here's the other thing. A lot of the people who I love, who I think are gangstalkers, or I'm kind of unsure, they're also gangstalked. They also have, like, when my mom gets home, there are also people coordinating with her. She has, I say to her, here's your gangstalker. See how you just got home and now there's a car parked in front of our house? That's your gangstalker. And she just kind of laughs. She says, oh, maybe I'll go say hi to them. My cousin, who I think it might be a gangstalker, she's had someone try to run her off the road and like terrify her. And it's happened to her parents as well. They've had like fucked up car incidents. And so even if they are gangstalkers, and Marina, she has cameras on her bed every night. She sleeps with webcams to make sure that no one's violating her while she sleeps. And she showed me this when I had doubt about her authenticity. She was like, look at my fucking camera setup. Like, I have 2 webcams, can you not see that I'm actually like terrified of them? And I was like, well, yeah, but just because you're a gangstalker doesn't mean you're not gangstalked. And so it's painful for me to think about what if the worst case scenario, what if I'm a terrible, rotten piece of shit? And what if Marina's a gangstalker and she believes I'm a terrible, rotten piece of shit, but she just doesn't care because she's a gangstalker herself. And she feels like, since I'm a rotten piece of shit, it's not my fault though, because I'm being gangstalked. And she understands it. And so she gives me a pass on that. And I'm supposed to give her a pass then too. Like, I owe her a pass that she's a gangstalker. And I owe my family a pass because they're gangstalkers, but they're forced into it. Like, that's what I mean. I owe her a pass because she's a gangstalker, but because she's forced into it. And mainly though, because I have fucked up myself. Because I've acted like a straight up predator. Now, have I really acted like a predator, or have I only written things online? I've not acted like a predator. But knowing that knowing that those underage people were reading what I was writing, that's kind of predatorial. But how old do you have to be? Is it really? I mean, I've seen some 14A movies. You know, we're getting at the line of ages here. Where is it really that predatorial? Is it really something that you couldn't see on TV? Or like, you know, really, if you go by the standards of movies, it's actually not. What I've said is actually not predatorial. Because they have adult accompaniment. I mean, you could legally, everything I've written online, you could legally take your children to a movie and accompany them, and you could see all of that on a movie. So really, I haven't broken any social standards. And it's kind of difficult for me because I felt like I have for like 5 years. And when that becomes your gestalt and your whole identity, that you're this fucking bad person, and you just reinforce it for over and over and over for years, it literally brainwashes you to the point where you say, I'm not a bad person and this isn't my fault and I did the right thing. I didn't break any laws. I didn't even break any moral taboos. I didn't even break any moral rules, I mean. And look at all the evidence I got against these people. Now that seems like they're just gonna say, "Oh, you wish you're actually a really bad person, and we caught you, and now you're upset we caught you." But who is it that's saying that? It's them who's saying that. It doesn't look honest when you say it's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong, and I don't deserve to feel guilty. People are going to say, that's not true. Who are you, Jesus Christ? You think you never sinned? Fuck you, you liar. That's what they're going to say. But who's going to say that? It's those same people who are doing this to me. And so I think, who am I even talking to then? Who am I even trying to justify myself to? Zeph? Yeah. I mean, really, sometimes I think Zeph would understand. And Marina. And to some extent, my family. You know, and to some extent, the people who are actually who have done this to me. On some extent, I want to actually tell them, do you understand that I care about you? And I want you to not condemn me? Do you understand that I want your approval too? Like, do you think that you're such a bad person that you're incapable of hurting my feelings? Do you think so lowly of yourself that you can abuse me in any way, and I'll just assume that you're such a piece of shit that you're beneath my dignity to even have my feathers ruffled by you? That you're just so nothing, you're just so beneath me that you could never affect me? Do you have that low a self-esteem that you think that you can't hurt me by abusing me? That it doesn't hurt me when you hurt me? Part of me wants to say this to them. And then that feels like a whole new issue of Stockholm Syndrome. That why are you trying to justify it to them? Why are you trying to justify yourself to them? Because I care about them. But why? Because it's Stockholm Syndrome? Or because I'm just so compassionate that I just love people? I'm just such an innocent, childlike spirit that I love people and I can see the good in people and I can see that it's not their fault too. And do I have enough love that even my hatred is absorbed into my love? That my love is so much bigger than my hatred, that my hatred gets encapsulated by my love. Now, if you say that, they're going to call you a narcissist. They're going to call you a love-bombing, cultist, narcissist, sociopathic, psychopathic, fucking malignant, dark triad kind of personality, BPD kind of personality, borderline personality, kind of fucked up personality. They're going to say it's a whole mix of the worst things. You grandiose fuck. That's what they're going to say. And that's what's going on in my head, even when they're not even here, even when I haven't seen them in since Todd died. The last time I saw them, some of them, like the adults, were before Todd died. In which case, they were seemingly threatening to hurt Todd, and then I went postal on the internet writing things that got me, the things that I think got Todd killed. But I don't know. It could have been something else that killed Todd, but there were some weird circumstances there. And again, do they kill animals? Yes, they tried to, different gangstalkers tried to run over Todd with a truck. So apparently Marina and I have a date on Tuesday. I'm hoping it's going to be good. I'm hoping that by talking about this with you, that I've aired out some grievances. And that I'm maybe coming to terms with who I am. Because remember, I've thought I'm a really bad person for like 5 years about. I've really thought I'm a bad person. Like, for real. Like, I acted like I thought I was a good person, but that was just acting. And really, I felt like a really bad person. And like I deserved all of this terrible shit. But I also had incredible cognitive dissonance about that. I also had, but why are they trying to kill my mom? Why are they, like, why are they sending their children to stalk me while punishing me for saying these things? Like, why are they saying you're a danger to children and then sending their children to be near me? Like, even on Chris Hansen, To Catch a Predator, they have the decoy who's actually 13, but they don't let them anywhere near the predator. When the predator comes, they keep a safe distance. Why are they sending children to talk to me? And they were doing this before I had even said these things. So I had cognitive dissonance. Like, this doesn't make sense. Why are they... If it's really all my fault, then why are they encouraging me? Why are they entrapping me? Why are they, like... Why don't they get the police involved? Why don't they have the police come and say, excuse me, you're saying these things online and it's really inappropriate. Why don't they do that? Well, because that would lead to evidence. Because if the police got involved, they would have to say, how do you know these girls? And I'd say, well, because they stalk me with their families, and they they drive around with their kids in the car and threaten to kill me. It would incriminate them. If the police tried to do a real public trial, it would incriminate them. Which is part of the thing that motivated me to say I was in love with them in the first place, was because I knew if it went to a public trial, it would incriminate them. Part of me wanted it to go to the police. I wanted it to become a public trial. But I also didn't. I was also scared. I felt like it's actually pretty fucking scary, because they're so slick. And of course, because look how guilty I am. Look what I'm saying. It's just going to backfire on me. So I felt like, you're guilty, but so am I. That's really my ultimate verdict, how I felt. Yeah, I'm a dirty, rotten, scumbag piece of shit, and so are you. And maybe you feel bad that you're destroying one of your own. That I'm a fucking rapist predator, just like you, and you're attacking me, and you're killing one of your own. Don't you feel bad about that? Hey, I'm in the same club, pal. I have no morals, too. I'm a full sociopath, too. But yet you're killing me? Don't you feel a little bit hypocritical about that? That's how I felt, too. And yeah, we're all just pieces of shit. But I used to be a good person before you guys fucked me up and made me like you. I used to be a good person. I used to feel clean and innocent inside. I used to feel literally like I was a kid. I know that sounds weird. Okay, I'm not saying it like Matthew McConaughey in the movie Killer Joe, where he sleeps with a 12-year-old and she says, how old are you? And he says, I'm 12. And then she gets pregnant and then he kills her whole family. Or she kills her whole family, actually. And, I'm not saying it like that, obviously. I mean, I'm saying it like... But you could see, even the fact that I need to validate this point and say, no, it's not how I mean it. You could see how I feel like this guilt is so put on me that I have to like justify myself all the time and say, no, it's not. When I say I'm like a kid, I don't mean it like I'm Killer Joe. Okay, I'm not a predator, just please. You gotta believe me, please. Hey, by the way, do you have any money? Can I borrow some money? I'm not a predator. Can I borrow some money? Seriously, I'm not a predator. Just can I borrow some money? You know, that's the kind of vibe I feel like I'm giving off. But before I got fucked up by these people, before they turned me into them, this is how I felt. That I was a child. I was like a fucking innocent, pure-hearted person. And I was loving my life. I felt like in love with life. Like I was a really happy fucking person. And I was like pinching myself every day that I had been miserable for most of my life. And I had finally found my meditation and my spirituality. And then they just fucking made me like them. And I thought, okay, well, you're a piece of shit, but you've always been a piece of shit. I'm a piece of shit now too. And for me, it's not okay. And I actually would rather die. I actually would rather go to the fucking Switzerland and get nitropotted because I already know what it's like to not feel like a piece of shit. You probably don't know. You've probably been raised by human traffickers. You've been destroyed as like when you were like 3 or something. Before your memory even began, you were already destroyed. And I have reference of not being like that. And I don't ever want to fucking be dead inside. And now I'm dead inside. And now everything's fucked and everything's worthless. And now I can't even talk to my fucking girlfriend because it's all worthless. Because everything sucks because I'm fucked. And Zeph talks about that. He's like, one of the things of trauma is you work double as hard to get yourself off the hook while you make everything fail. You guarantee that everything in your life fails. And then to not feel responsible for that, you just work really hard. You work really hard at failing. So you say, well, I'm a hard worker, so it's not my fault I failed. The trauma comes in a very roundabout way. And so for me to message Marina right now, I just have all these blocks. Like so many blocks. What if she's this? What if she's that? What if she's not this? What if she's not that? What if she's just a pure, perfect-hearted, innocent angel and I'm just a dirty, rotten scumbag piece of shit? And the only reason she doesn't see it is because she's too good for me. And then what if I'm too good for her? What if she's really just manipulating me and a jerk and I'm really this super innocent person and I just don't deserve any of this? Now, I do actually miss her. Like, when I didn't message her yesterday, I did really think, just wait and give it a day, you'll miss her. Eventually, you are going to miss her, and that's fine. It's not like you're being a piece of shit by not talking to her for a day. You need space too. Give yourself the opportunity to have space. You don't have to be chasing her all the time. If you have to go a day without talking to her, that's better. Because then, by the next day, you'll miss her and you'll actually talk to her because you miss her, not because you feel guilty. So let it be natural. You know, if she loves you, she will let you fly away. And if you come back, then she knows that you belong to her. And if you love her, let her fly away. And if she comes back to you, then you know that she belongs to you. And so it goes both ways. You know, you can fly away too, and you can see for yourself that you want to come back to her. So don't feel like you have to keep talking to her just to keep her around. Let yourself have some space too. And so that might be what this is about too. That I'm just feeling needy. And the neediness might be exacerbated by feeling like a piece of shit and wanting the validation that, well, Marina loves me, so now I really feel innocent. Because that did happen. When Marina started loving me, I thought, well, now I'm a good person. It proves it. I've told Marina about everything I've just told you. I've told her about all this. She knows about all this. And she still loves me. Okay, that proves that I'm a good person. That's how I felt. But then all that gets erased. If she's a gangstalker, then all that gets erased. Then I'm a bad person and she's a bad person. Or we're all good people and we're just being forced into it and no one's guilty, including the people who fucking perhaps killed Todd, who tried to run over Todd, who tortured me for years, who make me want to actually go in the nitro pod. Now, how could you forgive them? If I have to forgive some of it, don't I have to forgive all of it? Or are there gradients? I don't fucking know. But it's been helpful to talk about this. And we're already at an hour and 5 minutes. This is getting too long for my tablet. I can only upload so many minutes on a video to my tablet before it runs out of memory. So, I might just end this video. I feel like I've talked about most things. I'm probably going to message Marina today. I have the house to myself, so that's cool. I am on day 3 of a water fast. My blood pressure was 128/77, which is really good. The high number, if it's every 3 points over 120, the spread, the difference between the high number and the low number, should be 1 point over 50. So my spread was 51, so I'm almost where I'm supposed to be in terms of getting enough water. Plus my pulse was 74. That's really good. So I'm drinking enough water. I'm drinking at exact right pace. On my headphones, I have a beep that goes every minute. I take 1 sip every minute, 500 milliliters per minute. Per hour, I mean. 500 milliliters per minute would be really bad. And, I was more traumatized than I realized. When you fucking water fast and you don't jack off and you don't have food to medicate you, and I was dreaming of eating food last night, you have a lot of emotions that will come up. And so these are the emotions that have come up for me. And I don't really know how to make sense of them. I'm kind of airing them out right now. And, that's basically where I'm at. Hopefully this will help me. Hopefully what I've said will help me. Because when you have an audience, it makes it real. In case you don't know, it's actually very amazing to have an audience. It's fucking amazing because you have all the penetrating eyes. That if you're a little bit fake here and there, you know that someone sees it. You might be able to fool most of them, but someone out there can see through it. And it's helpful. When you have a lot of people looking at you and they can see through you, it's helpful. It's really fucking therapeutic. That's the main gift that you get when you go to a group therapy session. You know that there's so many people watching that if you bullshit, they're going to realize. So it keeps you real. Anyway, I think I've said it all. I think I've said it all. I gotta do laundry. I gotta fucking, I don't know what to do. Okay, so I thought of a couple other things I wanted to say. Thing number 1 is the difficult thing to say. And that is, there was one other thing that I was reminded of by saying all this piece of shit talk, was I watched this video that appeared to be starring someone who was underage. And it wasn't that I searched for it. It just was put there by the gangstalkers, and I clicked on it. And I watched it thinking, yep, this is illegal and I'm doing it anyway. And who gives a fuck? And that made me feel really badly. And a few days later, I think I got raped. And that made me feel like a real predator. Because how am I going to feel like, well, I'm just the good cop in town and I'm just Chris Hansen. But then I went and watched this video that may have been legal for all I know. It was just ambiguous. The person looked very petite. And I couldn't see their face. I couldn't see their tits. They were angled in such a way that it accentuated their hips. But the point is, I think this is illegal. And I don't care. And now, was that just a fantasy or did I really believe it? I sometimes wonder about these things. Did I really believe it was, in another sense, in a different topic, Dance Girl Sweater, or was I just fantasizing? And it gets especially convoluted because I think that the age of consent shouldn't exist. I think that it should exist also because society is full of bad people and you need laws to protect people. But if not for people being bad people and taking advantage and coercing, then the bonobos don't discriminate based on age. And when you try to film that, it's actually illegal to film that. Like if you are doing like a documentary for PhD students to study, or for National Geographic for public consumption, you actually can't show evidence of bonobos not discriminating on age, even though they don't discriminate based on age. But that's not the point. It just kind of makes things a little bit more convoluted. But ultimately, I do believe in following the law. And so if I didn't follow the law at that point, the video wasn't titled anything that would say it was underage. I didn't search for anything that was underage. And so, but if I believed I was doing something illegal, whether I was or not, wouldn't that make me feel like a dirty, rotten scumbag? Well, I was high. I was like stoned as fuck. And they put it there while I was stoned as fuck. And doesn't that violate a law of consent? Like, think about it as if I was having sex with a girl and I was not high and she was high, or I was not drunk and she was drunk. That would be illegal, wouldn't it? And then if I said, well, she's drunk, hey, look at this picture, and I show her an illegal picture, and I say, by the way, if you look, it means you're guilty, even though I'm not drunk and she's drunk. So the timing of it, when they placed it there, would exonerate me, wouldn't it? And also, I've been angry at these families for doing this to me, because now if I go outside near any, like, because we live in a residential zone where there's schools everywhere, now if I go outside in the daytime, someone breaks in and gasses me. And so I have to leave town and live out in the boonies when I'm a targeted individual and I actually need the help from my mom. So they've effectively given me a death sentence or a life in prison sentence to live here. And they've drastically restricted my freedom of movement. And I don't know if they even know how shitty that is, to be like fucking like tortured with gas, with break-ins and terror. Like, they've given me a fucking death sentence. Like, if I lock the doors so that they can't break in, then they'll kill my mom and me, and they'll fucking cause a car accident with us. Like, I don't know if they get how much they've fucked me. Like, and sometimes it's very angering for me, and I feel like, well, it's my own fault, I shouldn't have watched the video. Yeah, but why would they put the video there when I'm stoned as fuck? Isn't that illegal? Like, isn't that a literal, real thing, that when a sober person does something sexual to a not sober person, that the sober person is guilty and the not sober person is not guilty? Like, isn't that a real thing? Because I felt tremendously bad. It was one of the most traumatizing things in my life to watch that video. And I can guarantee I wouldn't have done that had I not been saying, well, the whole law is fucked, everything is fucked, and they want me to do this. Clearly they're telling me to do this. Clearly they're threatening me to kill me and telling me to do this, and I'm drugged. And I felt weird jacking into that video. I felt like, do I even like this? And I did say, you know what? I don't like this too. I did turn it off. So I may have just been appeasing them. I may have been saying, sure thing. This is part of your rape? Sure thing. I'll do it. And then I confused the biological nature of it by saying there should be no age of consent, and I'll just enjoy this, which made me feel guilty. But I didn't really enjoy it that much. Even if it is natural, I think feeling forced may have been what made me not enjoy it. Or it's not natural, and that's why I didn't enjoy it. But I think because the bonobos do it, then it is natural. So, anyways, and I know when I was like 5, I liked the smell of wet pussy. I mean, I knew that was a good smell, you know. And so, whatever, you know. But I believe in following the law. Like, even if I think there shouldn't be an age of consent, I still believe in following the law. And so I don't feel like a bad person really, but I kind of do. But I think the reason I do is because I've been traumatized and abused and drugged and abused at times when I was high, and it's not my fault. And so I should get to feel like it's not my fault, and I should get to feel clean again. And maybe I do, and maybe it's not that. Maybe I just feel so traumatized. You know, maybe I logically do, but emotionally I don't. I don't really know. But I feel better since talking about this. I feel like I've aired stuff out, and I do feel better.